Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. This is going to be a quick little news of the day, or maybe not so quick because it's the most packed board I've had to date. It feels like I've been saying that every day for the past week. But yeah, there has been a lot going on. I still, once again, was not able to fit everything on this board. So there's going to be another video coming up shortly after this one. And there are still some news that I'm also anticipating. Of course, we have not heard anything from a lot of teams from North America, like 4Zoomers, Black and Yellow. Also, OG is notably one from Western Europe we haven't heard from. We actually just got some news that I added to the bottom of the board here if you're at all curious about that. But I'll end up getting to it in time. So first off, starting on the list, and I thought I'd throw this on here as an exception to the rule because I'm not going to be actively following specific open qualifier teams. However, I am putting this one on the board because I think it's one that a lot of people are anticipating is going to make it through those open qualifiers, including myself, and that being the new Talon esports roster consisting of the likes of Fly, Gabby, whole bunch of big name players. And yeah, this is on the board because they actually just lost the first open qualifiers in the semifinals. They lost to a VT Faded stack. It was a very good game, but however, this VT Faded stack was one that was very well practiced from what I've heard. I've heard a lot of people that have been following them for a long time know that these guys were very well coordinated and were bound to make it into the DPC. So they will have another opportunity. The second open qualifiers are taking place on November 23rd and 24th, so they got a few days to recoup, maybe get some scrims in. But this is their last opportunity up until the next tour starts, which might not be until February. So yeah, big news. Talon 0 for 1 so far, but of course there were some pretty good teams, and they did have a pretty easy time up until they made it into that top 4 range in that first open qualifier. So best of luck to them. Again, I'm hoping that they make it through because I'd really love to see them make it to the upper division as quickly as possible. Next up, OB Neon, of course. Over the past couple weeks, we saw them put Januel onto their inactive roster, a player who had been with them for quite a long time. Then they brought in UK to play position 5 to replace Januel, and then they put him on the inactive roster. And then yesterday, they both ended up leaving or being kicked. I think Januel ended up actually leaving because he's a part of the new Fnatic roster. However, UK seemed a lot more like a kick because of just the circumstances of how short he was on the team for. He was not on the team for very long, but they've gone ahead and replaced him with Abeng. So hopefully that works out for OB Neon. I think it's kind of scummy what they did to UK. Apparently he's on a new team. I haven't been able to find any information about that, but I've been hearing some information that he has found himself on a new team at this point. Keeping things moving now, we're going to jump into our next story here. Redpanda and White Album are both joining Aster Aries, which is of course Team Aster's youth team, or their second team that they have down in China's lower division of the DPC. And they've called up Siamese.C to play position 5 for the actual team Aster, which is a player that played for that youth team this past year. So White Album being demoted, whether or not he deserves that or not, I think Aster performed very, very well in their own region. However, they just couldn't overcome that at majors. I know at TI wasn't necessarily their fault. Their team was ridden with COVID-19. It was very unfortunate. But nonetheless, they've gone ahead and picked up Ori, who again is a very reliable mid laner. And I'm sure they're hoping to have a better season this time around when it comes to actually earning DPC points and money from lands. And yeah, this Chinese region has gone through quite the shakeup, and I'm going to be pretty much going through that for the rest of this video. Where Elephant, as rumored, has actually officially given up their upper division slot to RNG. So, of course, Elephant, a team that finished 5th place in both seasons, they were going to be staying in the upper division this time around. However, they weren't able to hold the roster down, and they weren't able to find a new one, and they will not be participating in this season whatsoever, which means they had their DPC slot up for grabs, who they've given to RNG, a team that finished bottom 2 in the previous season, did not have the best time. They were actually bound for the lower division, but now they're going to be staying in that upper division thanks to Elephant. So that means that there are now 3 lower division slots open in China right now. So a little bit of an extra space there for any new teams coming through open qualifiers. And again, kind of a nice gesture for Elephant to give RNG this slot. Again, RNG is a super stacked team. I would have been very surprised if they didn't make it to the upper division by the second tour, but regardless, this ends up giving it to them now. Next up, and this is kind of some surprising news, and that is that Kaka is going to be leaving IG. They had mentioned in their statement that Kaka's contract has renewed and he decided to walk out as a free agent. As of right now, he's not part of any team, nor have we heard about anyone interested in picking him up, but they've gone ahead and replaced him with Fade previously on EHOME. So They didn't leave that slot empty for very long, and good for them, because Invictus Gaming, it's kind of sad to see this happen, because they did finish top 4 at the TI. They did finish first place in the first major of the year and the first season of the Chinese DPC. They underperformed a little bit at the second major. However, they did have a stand-in playing for them. And yeah, so kind of unfortunate that Kaka leaves, but again, it looks like it was his decision, and they've gone ahead and replaced him with Fade. So hopefully this ends up working out. Fade had a pretty decent season with EHOME, a team that didn't exactly have the best time around either, but they did manage to stay in the upper division. So yeah, we'll have to see how this works out. And now jumping into some new rosters, and this is where I kind of had to clump a whole bunch of stuff kind of close together. So I apologize if it's a little difficult to read. I'll try and walk through it a little bit slowly, but we have 3 new Chinese rosters coming into this upper division, starting off with EHOME. Previously was Sylar, XM, Chalice, Fade, and X Nova, all of which have departed. XM now on Avicii Gaming, like I mentioned earlier, Fade on Invictus Gaming, and then Chalice and X Nova now on this RNG stack that is now going to be part of the upper division once again. The only remaining member is their coach, QQQ. Their new roster consists mainly of the old Phoenix stack. The team that finished top 2 in the lower division and is now heading to this upper division, who I'm going to get into immediately after this in showing their new roster. Starting off with Shiro and 7E. 7E was actually not a part of Phoenix's roster when they tried to qualify for TI. He was brought in afterward, and he played in a few small tournaments with Phoenix. So that's the reason why Phoenix's old roster does not have 7E on it, because he wasn't on it for the TI-10 qualifiers, where I'm taking this information from. They have an offlaner who they've named, but I have not been able to find any information on, nor have I been able to find an English translation of his name. So for now, I'm leaving it as the question marks. I'm not going to even attempt to write in Mandarin. It's not going to go well. So for now, they do have an offlaner. I just don't know if he's played on a team previously. I haven't been able to find any information on him, nor have I been able to see his name anywhere in the Chinese DPC for the past year. So could be someone completely new. We have Planet coming in from Phoenix, as well as ZZQ. So again, a lot of members of Phoenix coming in for this new EHOME roster, some of which who haven't been around for as long, like 7E, like I mentioned. But yeah, this looks like just a bigger org kind of bringing in one of the new younger generation of players into this org, and are hoping to have a better time around this season. So yeah, hopefully it works out for EHOME. But as for Phoenix, the team that these players left behind, this roster is a little bit more in shambles now than what it was heading into this division just a few weeks ago. So the old Phoenix roster, of course, as I have pretty much just run through, consists of Shiro, another Chinese name which I'm not able to pronounce. We have Dolme, who has yet to find a new team, and then Planet and ZZQ, now a part of EHOME. And once again, this is a stack that has completely departed. The only remaining members is the coach, Mikasa. The new roster, and this is where I get a little bit worried, because most of these players, sure, they have pro experience. It has mainly been at the tier 2 and tier 3 level of the Chinese region, and it hasn't been for about between a year and 2 years for a lot of these players. Starting off with M77, who last played for you know who. We have Zone, who I was not able to find any information on, and was not a part of the DPC for the entire last year. We have Shining, previously on Eclipse. We have YP from Team Ever, and LWW coming from Team Sirius. And again, none of these players have not played for at least over a year in this past DPC. And whenever they did, it wasn't for high tier teams either. So I'm a little bit worried for this Phoenix roster. This is one that's going to be partaking in the upper division. So it's going to be a very, very competitive region for these guys. But again, best of luck. Maybe there's some new shining talent. What happens a lot in a lot of regions, specifically China, and we saw that with EHOME, is that if there's any shining players on this team, you know, maybe one player that's outperforming the rest of his own team, he'll probably end up getting snatched up by a bigger organization by the end of the season. So I'm hoping that even though these are a bunch of new faces, that we see some fresh, young talent here that might get picked up by some bigger teams, get some more spotlight on them. So again, I'm not trying to make it seem like Phoenix is going to have a terrible season, that they're going to go winless, but as of right now, it doesn't look nearly as competitive as some of these other teams. Speaking of other teams coming in from the lower division, we have LBZS, of course, the other team coming in from the lower division into the upper division, who have also lost pretty much their entire roster. Starting off with their old one, we have Wishing, X, and Irving, who, of course, Irving has joined Avicii Gaming as of late. We have Catyu, who is the only remaining member in this new roster, and QYQX. There's no coach for this stack listed. They haven't had a coach since early on in 2021. And looking at their new roster now, they have Kagome, who I have not found any information on. We have Payu, who last played on Team Revive. They have Dot playing position 3, last played on Phoenix. Again, wasn't part of this same stack here around the same time. He actually ended up departing the team a little bit earlier than everyone else. He played in Season 2, I believe. So he helped them get to that upper division, but was not a part of the team for the TI10 qualifiers. Again, Cat U being the only remaining member, and we have Detachment playing position 5, another player who I was not able to find any information on. He was not a part of the DPC for this past year. So again, LBZS, another team coming in from the lower division who had a lot of their team fall apart a little bit. There's a lot of new faces here. Again, a lot of these players that I was able to find information on, besides Cat U, hadn't played for over a year, and when they did, they played on Tier 2 and Tier 3 teams, so I'm a little bit worried, but again, same story as Phoenix. I'm just hoping that some new fresh talent comes out of this and something good comes out of it, and hopefully they can keep their head above water in that upper division. So yeah, and right as I was getting ready to make this video, I actually just decided to check OG to see if they leaked their roster yet, and they haven't said anything about their roster, but they're going to be making Misha their captain, assuming that he's going to be a member on the roster then, and he's going to be probably playing position 5 for them. So yeah, OG have yet to release the roster, but they have announced that Misha is going to be a captain as opposed to a coach, which he was for OG for the past little while. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Again, I'm going to have another video posted up shortly after this one. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later today with another video.